You were born with individual strengths and a unique purpose. Don't let fears, false beliefs, or life's happenings diminish your influence. It's time to live and lead for impact. Host Kirsten Ross, expert of transformation, will help you defeat the drama and overcome the trauma that can stop you in your tracks. You'll gain focus, find confidence, and take bold action. Unleash passionate, purposeful you. Let's go.
Welcome to the Live and Lead for Impact podcast. I'm Kirsten Ross, your host. Thank you for joining me. You're in for a treat. I can't wait. I have Khalil Thompson with me today, and he has a nonprofit called Empowered Readers Literacy Project. He and I talked, I'm trying to think how long ago it was. And so it took a little bit to get him scheduled in here. So I'm super excited to have him on here. He is passionate about making sure that people have access to quality books. So he is a husband, a father of 2 girls, and a serial enabler of good. He was born in Oakland, came of age in New Orleans, and became an adult in Atlanta. So welcome, Khalil.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here. And should I share the good news or should you?
I'm going to let you go ahead and share the good news.
Okay.
It's going to be more inspiring to hear it come from somebody else's mouth.
Oh, you think? Okay, you want to hear it coming out of my mouth. All right, so listen, he just shared with me. So back when we first spoke, he was struggling to find all the time that he wanted to devote to this wonderful nonprofit. Because you know that thing called the JOB, it was getting in his way. But, sometimes it's hard to cut those ties. And he just shared with me that he has turned in his notice and next Friday is his last day. So I am always so excited. He's going to have more time to devote to his passion and to making his impact. So let us celebrate that.
Yes. It's going to be a big celebration. It was so scary to step out on faith and make this decision. And I think what ultimately ended up allowing me to be able to come to the decision was the realization that security and the well-being of my family has never been tied to an employer. It's always been tied to me and my ability to bring things to life and my ability to do work and the quality of the work that I do. And, after sitting in some quiet space and really just listening, not talking, and that's like the revelation that came to my mind. And, so now I have the opportunity to do a mix of consulting and working on the nonprofit, but doing it for myself and being in control of my schedule and giving myself time to be able to really invest into bringing my daughter's dream to life.
Mm-hmm. And so now that kind of slides right into my first question. The fact that your daughter was one of the main inspirations for this. So what life experience, and this is such a sweet story, but what life experience motivates you to make your impact?
Yeah. So I think I've always been a person, starting as a child, where I wanted to leave a mark on the world. Just never knew as a young child, like what that mark would be. Right. But I've always felt like I just was called to do something bigger. Right. Mm-hmm. And I think what's so inspiring to me about, our story is that I've literally found my inspiration to leave that mark through my daughter. When she started kindergarten, she came home the first day of school and she was upset that a lot of her new friends didn't know how to write, didn't know their ABCs, how to read or spell their names. And my wife and I sat down with her and used that as a real coachable moment to explain to her different circumstances that different families come from. Mm-hmm. And that, not everybody has access to books and not all parents know how to read. And sometimes parents work multiple jobs and aren't there, and if their parents never read to them as kids, parents don't understand the importance of reading to their own children. And, my daughter has this huge heart of empathy. She always has. And she said that made her sad and she wanted to do something to help fix the problem. And she challenged us to help her find a way to help fight childhood illiteracy. And once we did some more digging and found out that there was a direct correlation between illiteracy and the prison pipeline that disproportionately affects minorities and people on the lower end of the socioeconomic ladder, we were like, okay, there's something here. You're absolutely correct. And and just leaned into it and said, yeah, we're going to enable you and empower you to do this. And I've found my inspiration through her. And I think she's empowered me as much as I'm empowering her, which I think is really awesome.
Mm-hmm. And she's just got to love watching this play out. And I'm sure she's involved sometimes when you're doing your work, and she's aware and probably helping in some ways.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, she's always involved. She thinks she's my boss. It's
she's like cracking the whip.
Yeah, it's really funny. So like we have every other Sunday we have like a little family board meeting where we sit down and like she makes up the agenda and we talk about something. Yeah, and we talk about things that we're gonna do or what that we're thinking about. And she comes up with some really great ideas. I mean, we had a children's march for literacy back in January. And that all stemmed. Let me tell you how this all stemmed. So we were invited to this nonprofit incubator through an organization down here in Georgia called Plywood People. Mm-hmm. And we were invited to participate in their idea competition, which is basically like a Shark Tank type thing, mm-hmm. where you get up there and you pitch an idea. Mm-hmm. So we put together this whole thing around the nonprofit and how we're going to go after, attack it and everything. And we put this presentation together. And we said, okay, well, we're just going to call this. Salah said she wanted to give away 1,000 books. We're going to call this the March to 2,000 books. Mm. So we have this thing and we go and say, we go to our daughter and say, Salah, we have our presentation together. We want you to take a listen. And she goes, well, when is the presentation? And we're like, oh, well, it's tomorrow. And she's like, well, it better be good because you didn't give me much time to help you fix it if it's not. and so, but then when we said the March to 2,000 books thing, she just ran with that. She said, you know what, Daddy, we should do a real children's march. And we should all dress up as our favorite characters from our favorite books. And we should get out and we should march in the street and have a parade. Aww. And we were like, that is a fantastic idea. So that's a long way to say she's intimately involved in this all the way through and through. And it's funny having a 7-year-old boss of sorts.
That's awesome. Well, and look at the experience that she's getting too. It's amazing. I love that she puts together the agenda and she's all about checking out your presentation. I hope it met her standards.
I had to make some changes. I'm not going to lie. She's a tough critic.
Love it. Well, now you know to bake in extra time. So, don't be rushing her now.
Exactly.
So, we've been alluding to what your impact is. So why don't you describe specifically what you're up to and how you're getting these books into kids' hands? Yeah, absolutely. So Empowered Readers, our nonprofit, we are focused on helping families build strong reading rituals and getting kids excited about books and reading. We have a heavy emphasis on excitement and access. We're not an organization that teaches kids how to read. The schools do that, and there's so many other organizations that live in that space. Our focus is getting kids access to books, diverse books where they can see themselves reflected in the pages and therefore get excited about reading, and making sure and exposing kids to different types of activities that are exciting, to help bring books to life, and then help parents build those strong reading rituals to make reading habitual. Our area of impact is kids from birth to age 8, which is the end of 3rd grade, which is where the literacy tests take place that really determine the future of a lot of children, which most people don't realize. That if your child is not reading at grade level by the end of 3rd grade, that 2/3 of those kids end up in jail or on welfare, and those same kids are 4 times more likely to drop out of school, and that the school dropout rate is what prisons use to forecast the number of prison cells that they're going to build in the future. So there is a direct link between illiteracy and prison, and I think we believe that every parent wants the best for their child. They just don't. They are not aware of the adverse ramifications of falling behind in literacy. So that's what we're here to expose and help families avoid. So when you're saying building these reading rituals, what does that look like, and how are you enticing or igniting the passion or creating that consistency in people's homes?
Yeah, so that is a fantastic question.
Why,
So,
thank you.
so, reading rituals are, they are shared between parents and children, and then they are rituals that children have by themselves.
Okay.
So our goal is to help parents develop strong reading rituals with their children before kids have the ability to start reading on their own. So really that age 0 to 3, to provide resources for parents to allow them to have different activities and different things to do with their kids, to read to their children, help bring books to life. Then as those kids get older, to really do different types of activities, be it readers' theaters or bringing books together to life through puppet shows or various different activities to help bring the books to life and empower kids to tap into their imagination and creativity. If we can help parents build those rituals with kids, we strongly believe that kids will build an excitement and love for reading, and will make it a habitual thing as they get older, as they progress into kindergarten, first, second, third grade, and whatnot. Now, as far as how do we actually get in front of parents to help bring these things to life, we have a couple of things that we do. So one of the things is this Out of the Margins program that we do, which is an initiative to build little free libraries across the city of Atlanta in neighborhoods that are located in library deserts, book deserts. So with that, we were building these installations of little free libraries, which are those really cool little boxes of books that you might see in neighborhoods that are like basically bring a book, take a book honor system. We have identified a bunch of neighborhoods that are in book deserts. We build those in clusters of 3. We custom design them via our daughter's direction as a treasure chest.
There she goes again. Yeah.
And the whole thing is to subliminally show that kids that books are treasure. And we built 3 of them. When we plant these things, we plant one for children's books, one for YA books, which is young adult books, and one for adult books. And we do more than just plant them. We actually activate those little free libraries and bring the traditional activities that take place in libraries to these communities, right? So that includes reading time. We have a program that's called Books on the Green, where we sit down and do actual reading. Instead of screens on the greens, we do story time, where we involve people from the community. We also do we do reenactment, readers' theater type activities where kids can come and act out characters from the book and bring them to life, and they can dress up in costume. And we also have just like educational things for parents, for fun games that they can do, even if it's not reading a book, that's encouraging kids to learn how to spell and get excited about reading, period, if it's not a book, right? So like if it's with your kid in the grocery store reading box labels, or if it's, having your kids read out like certain, like you've seen like those mats that have like the letters on there, having them spell out like basic words on those types of things. Really just small things that you can do to help kids get really excited about reading and build a pattern of success versus a pattern of failure.
Love it. What, talk too about the young authors in the area. Yes. 'Cause I love that too.
Yeah, so I think that's one of the coolest parts also. So when we build the little free libraries, we are very intentional about getting young authors, kids who have written books, and featuring those in those libraries, books written for kids by kids. Because it's one thing to say, hey, let's read. It's another thing to say, hey, look, there's another kid that looks like me, who came from my neighborhood, who is writing books, right? And if they have a voice and their story matters, maybe that will empower other kids to use their voice and share their stories, because their story matters. And so we're really intentional about pulling kids from the neighborhoods that we serve. So, for example, our next library planting is taking place on March 23rd in a neighborhood in Atlanta called Vine City on the west side. And we have a group of young ladies, 3 young girls, who wrote a book called Roxy's Day in Vine City. We are featuring their book in that library, and those young ladies are actually going to come out on the 23rd and do a book reading and be there as inspiration for the rest of the kids in the neighborhood as well. So that
That's
is
so
a very
fun.
important part.
That's so
Thank you.
exciting on so many levels. I mean, and think about being a young author like that and watching your book come to life, for one. And then, two, knowing it's going to be in your community in this little library and then getting to come and read to other kids. Oh, awesome.
Yes.
Love it. Love it. So, what impact have you made so far? Like, what's one thing that sticks out in your mind that really fuels your passion?
So I think the biggest impact that we've had so far was the Children's March for Literacy that we did in January. That whole experience blew my mind. Like, this is something that came together in a 5-month period, from the time where my daughter said we didn't give her enough time to give her critiques. It said, let's make this a real march, to its execution. It was 5 months.
Yeah.
And we thought we were going to get like her friends from school and maybe like have 100 kids out there at the most come and do this march. But this thing blew up so much. As we talked to people, we talked to principals and teachers and doctors and people within the community and organizations. They all were like, this is fantastic. And we realized that we struck a chord. So we ended up having 1,300 people register.
Wow.
Yes, it was phenomenal. We had just under 400 people show up because the weather was rainy that day, but it was still a phenomenal turnout. And I think the most important thing of it all was, at the end of the day, kids were smiling and excited about reading in the libraries, because we planted our first set of 3 little free libraries at the end of that March. And
cool.
We partnered with 3 local schools for the kids to decorate those libraries around this theme of community treasure. So to see the kids who decorated those libraries and other kids from the neighborhood out there marching and seeing them planted in the ground and seeing the excitement on their faces as they ran up to them, and they were just like, whoa, and stuck their heads in and everything. And then we've been getting pictures from parents of their kids going to the libraries, putting in books and pulling books out. It's just been the gift that keeps on giving. And we hope that goes both ways, and it continues to just keep giving back to the community as well, and that families continue to utilize them.
That's amazing. I'm just getting like all these visuals of the excitement. I'm a bookaholic too, so I really love your story. And I love your daughter already too.
She's pretty awesome.
So what's the biggest internal or external challenge you've had to overcome, and how did you overcome it?
So I'm going to harken back to like the first conversation, the first conversation we had when I got on the phone with you. And then I think the biggest challenge has been taking the leap of faith. We've had no shortage of vision, no shortage of support, no shortage of willpower to bring this stuff to life, right? And I think one way that we are just blessed is just from my wife and my background. We have the background. She's an attorney. I'm in marketing. We have this background where we know how to tell stories and we know how to bring things to life. And it's easy for us to empower our children. But even with all of that and having successful careers, it's still super scary to say, what we don't have enough of is time. And one of us needs to commit all of our time to helping our daughter on this mission. And so I think that's the one thing that has been the hardest hurdle to overcome. But, and we're just now getting to that space. And it feels, when I put in the numbers, I felt so empowered even at that moment, right? To say like, hey, this is really going to happen. We're going to be fine, because we've always been fine. And it's our talent and our ability to do great work and bring people together that will continue to allow us to prosper.
Yes. And the thing is, when you can be disciplined with that extra time that you're capturing, like, the impact that you make is just going to grow exponentially. And it's going to be amazing. Like, how good is it going to feel? And I got to say, I'm a lucky one who gets to get up every day and be like, oh, yay, I get to do this or that, or, so I just love when other people join me in that same kind of life. But like, think what it's going to feel like that first morning when you would have been getting up for work. And instead, you're probably going to get up earlier. I'm going to tell you, because that's just kind of how the way it works. You're going to get up earlier, you're going to bound out of bed, and it's going to be so exciting.
So I'm just trying to be like you, Kirsten. That's it. I am trying to live vicariously through you, and make it my reality also.
Exactly. No, it's happening in a week. Like, you're almost there. Week and a half, right?
Mm-hmm. Week and a half.
You need to message me that morning and say, oh, yeah, that was amazing. And yes, I did wake up earlier and I got up, I shot out of bed, and I couldn't wait to get started on all this stuff.
I will do that because I'm really looking forward to it. Because just going back to what I said, after I put in the notice, that next morning I woke up early because I took the following day off.
See, already.
I woke up early, and I was just like, man, it's 5:00 in the morning, and I'm gonna go meditate, and I'm gonna go to the gym, and then I'm gonna go knock out all this amazing stuff that I want to do. And I was really excited about it, right? And I'm excited to be able to wash, rinse, repeat, and do that over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and the whole 24/7 blend. Woo, it's great. You get to focus on the creative stuff when your energy is high. You get to run errands when the crowds are low. You capture some more efficiency for sure.
I like how you said that the crowds are low. That's awesome.
Yeah, you will not see me in a Costco on a Sunday, So tell me, how do you stay motivated and moving during tough times?
It's funny is, so this is another really good question. These are great questions.
Oh, thank you.
So how do I stay motivated during tough times? I think, what's interesting for me is I've had so many tough times. Mm-hmm. And I think when you're presented with tough times, you either have the option to let those tough times, to play small and let those tough times box you in. Mm-hmm. Or you can play big and let those tough times be a tailwind to push you forward. Mm-hmm. So I'm just always in this mindset. I've had situations where I felt like I was at the bottom, like I was on the floor. And I remember telling one of my best friends one time, I was like, look, man, I can't fall from the floor. I'm all in. This is it. I got nowhere else to go but up from here. And I think if you genuinely know what your vision is, that's the most important thing. Just have a vision. Mm-hmm. If you know what your vision is, you know what the end game looks like and you know what the desired outcome is, you can get there. You can get back there. I don't care how tough the times are. You can get back there, but you got to have a vision. You have to know where you want to land to be able to get in at least the proximity, right? So I think how I get through tough times is, just taking the time and sit and look at what my vision is, and just, knowing that that's where I'm going. Stay excited about that because the future can always be better for you as long as you focus on the right things.
Mm-hmm. I always say, keep your eye on the prize. Keep your eye on the prize. All that little stuff, just keep it small. Let it roll. You just got to, another little barrier. Let me figure out a little creative way to just move around that thing because I'm keeping my eye on that prize.
That is right. Yes.
So what words of wisdom do you have for others who want to make an impact?
Oh, what words of wisdom for others who want to make an impact? Mm-hmm. Find something that is true to you and your story, right? Find something that really excites you, that's true to your story, that's really inspiring. A lot of times if we do some deep digging and some soul searching, we'll find some stuff that's part of our creation story. It's something that we're all really, really passionate about. Mm-hmm. Find something that's unique to you and true to your story for good, and just go after it. When you get hit with hurdles, don't sink to the level, elevate the conversation, go over them, and just keep moving. I think that's the one thing I would say, or two things.
Okay, great. So, and I did not say your website, which is empoweredreaders.org. So I just want to thank you so much for sharing today. Really, just like when we first spoke on the phone, your passion just flows out of you. And I'm sure it's an extension of your daughter's heart and her passion. Again, I love that she's taken the reins and, the chicken charge there. I love that. And, the passion that you have for what you're up to is so motivating, but also you've shared some great words of wisdom for people who are listening and wanting to work towards their impact. So if you want to learn more about Khalil Thompson and Empowered Readers Literacy Project and his daughter and their family and everything that they're up to, you can check them out at empoweredreaders.org. I'll have the link at the show notes for today's episode. So go to defeatthedrama.com, click on the podcast tab, and then go to today's episode. And then, hey, if you need to defeat some drama in your life, if you've got stuff going on that's standing in the way of making your impact, you need to reach out to me there as well. I am looking for people who need help. I want you to reach out so that I can share some specific strategies with you. I'll share them on a podcast in the future so that me helping you work through your issues, we can help others. I also have a relationship renovation roadmap coming out. And if you've got some drama happening in any of your relationships, whether they're current relationships or just some lingering stuff that you're trying to tuck away, but it's still getting at you in your brain, go to defeatthedrama.com/roadmap so that I can get your email and keep you updated so that when that launches, you can be one of the first to know. So thanks so much for listening today, and get out there and make your big impact.